Hello, everyone. I'm Javier Garcia, one of the CS advisors.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Lydia Raya, and I'm Assistant Director for Undergraduate Advising in the EECS department. We're super excited to have you here today. Welcome.
Okay, so we're gonna get started. And first, I wanna tell you that this session is being recorded. If you're not comfortable with this, please feel free to leave this presentation. Later, we're gonna post this recording on our website for you to review. We're gonna get started right now, as I mentioned, and we're gonna go over some agenda items. We're gonna go over, like meeting your CS advisors. We're gonna discuss the difference between major and college advising, resources, major requirements, classes for your first year, grading policy, and we're gonna allocate sometime at the end of the presentation for Q&A. So please wait until the end to ask your questions. We're gonna be answering those questions at the end. So this is a Golden Bear advising orientation for first year admitted students into the CS major. So this is once again for CS, only CS. If you are an X student, X major, please reach out to your college, to your or advisor so that you attend that orientation. So here we are, I'm excited that you are joining this presentation. Excited that you are gonna be coming to Berkeley. If you're attending the summer, congratulations on that. If you haven't arrived to Berkeley yet, and you are gonna be arriving soon and get ready for the fall, looking forward to see you and meeting you in person, hopefully. And now, here we have the X department. The X department, under the X department, we have two majors, the X major and the computer science.
Yes, and congratulations. This is a big moment in the history of UC Berkeley that you are the first year admitted declared in the CS major. So congratulations. This is huge. It's been many years in the making. And we do want to point out that while any great new things bring wonderful opportunities, you're going to have more opportunity to kind of build your own schedules as you go along. We want to present that there are some dangers with this too, that we're going to go over. Like, you want to be sure to do your lower division in a timely manner and follow all the prereqs for the upper division. And we'll talk more about that in the next slides. This is our primary source of communication to the CS advisors. Is we have one email that goes to all the advisors. It's recommended you use this alias over writing to us individually, as we have better ways to keep track of emails through the alias. This is our lovely buildings, Soda Hall, and across the street, Corey Hall. I'm and Javier and Lydia are housed in the Soda Hall, and across the street, many of our colleagues who will also be assisting you with CS advising. This is where to find many of our resources for advising. A lot of the questions that you'll ask will be on our website. So you want to kind of explore through that as you're getting ready to attend in the fall. There's a link to, CS advising, undergraduate research. There's all kinds of interesting information that you can find there.
All right. So now let me go over, the advising department. So we have Antoine Davis. He is the director of undergraduate advising. Carol Marshall, myself, Javier Garcia. We have Charlene Duncan. She is the director of the CS Scholars. Then we have Lydia Raya. Lydia is the assistant director of undergraduate advising. Then we have Grayson, Gina, and Kate. Jason, Gina, and Kate are located in 205 Corey Hall. How to engage with advising? As I mentioned in the beginning, was mentioned in the beginning, there is, you know, there is the college advising and also the major advising. So this may be different for many of you because and perhaps in high school or the other institutions you attended, there was only one advisor you will have to go to for everything. Ask questions or like, oh, what classes do I need? I want to go to this institution. However, here at Berkeley, we have the college and then major departments. For example, the college is gonna be like this huge umbrella. Underneath this umbrella, we have major departments, and the CS major is under the college, College of Computing, Data Science, and Society. We refer to this as CDSS. Now, when it comes to like questions and where to go, so CS advising, or people refer to us as sometimes UMAs, that's undergraduate major advisors. When you have specific questions about, hey, can I take a class for Pass No Pass? What requirements do I need for the major? How many units you can take? When it comes to how many units I can take, next semester, that is gonna be a question for CDSS, for the college. So location-wise, we are located, CS Advising, we are located in 349 Soda and 205 Corey. And when it comes to CDSS or College Advising, they are located in 130 Warren Hall, and we both are offering virtual advising over the summer. Now, moving on, anything related to the major, you're gonna come to us. If you are asking about, or you have questions about like, hey, can I take, how many units can I take next semester? I'm planning to take a semester off next semester or something along those lines, then you need to talk with the CDSS advisor. Now, in the event that you don't know where to go, or if you have no idea, okay, where to go and who to ask, and if you go to CDSS, but then, the question is related to the major, then what's gonna happen is that they're gonna refer you to us, and vice versa. If you come to us, and then this is for the college, your questions are for the college, then we're gonna refer you to the college. So, but you can go to the college or CS. We both here to help you. So how to meet with us with computer science advising. Over the summer, we are available. We offering virtual drop-in drop-in advising. Virtual advising is Tuesday and Thursday from 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. And on Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 1:30 to 3:30. So something, just as a heads up, on July 3rd and the 4th, due to the holiday, we're not gonna be providing virtual advising. So virtual advising is happening over the summer, and appointments will be, we're gonna start offering appointments in person starting the fall semester. If you wanna, get in touch with us, if you have questions in the meantime, you can reach out to our CS advising at cs.berkeley.edu email, just anytime, as long as it is, Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 p.m. We should be able to get back to you, as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so we will start having appointments again in the fall. We do want to point out, however, we will continue with the drop-in options through fall, and we're moving to a more of a drop-in based system. That's what our students' feedback is preferred. So, but you can make an appointment in the fall using the link instructions. We'll be, we're going to send you guys these slides, so don't worry about having to jot down a lot of notes with the links. The drop-ins are just like an appointment. You will meet either in person in the fall or in-person drop-ins of the fall will be available. During the summer, it's remote only, but you can meet with, you know, an advisor in a Zoom room the same way you would an appointment. And assuming there's not a deadline ahead, we don't have even a lot of wait times for drop-ins. Sometimes we do if there's a big deadline, but in general, our students prefer it. And so this is how you can meet with the CDSS as its college advisors, just as Javier went over. They'll have a different set of requirements that you will talk to the college about as opposed to the major advisors. They're actually having an info session tomorrow, as you can see, and they're also offering drop-in advisement once you've completed GBA, and they will also be continuing with appointments in the fall and also having drop-ins. And there's their website for more information. And of course, their EdSTEM page too. And we wanted to mention faculty advising. This doesn't occur until October. Signups will be available, I believe, around September. It occurs every semester. It tends to be underutilized, which is kind of surprising because it really gives you an opportunity to connect with professors. You can talk about your interests, ways you want to engage in research. And they have a unique perspective on the different subjects. Faculty can be sort of intimidating. We're sometimes intimidated by them too, but this gives you an opportunity to, get to know them in an informal setting and talk. So there'll be information about how to sign up and the process later on.
Okay, so transitioning to university, new setting, new everything, and perhaps you're gonna be away from home can be challenging. And you need to find community. You need to find some people who you can relate to. And for that, we have peer advising. These are some ways, other ways to connect with people, with students, and especially if you're seeking advice or guidance on what classes you want to take, you know, next semester, the following terms, and so on. So the CS department is going to have peer advisors. Peer advisors are students, who have knowledge about classes. They are a great resource when it comes to planning for the future semesters. They have, like tips about hey, what tips about who you should take, classes with. They're gonna provide some feedback about, how the class went when they took it with a professor and so on. So these advisors, peer advisors, are gonna be available the second or the third week of instruction. So once the semester starts, once instruction begins, the second, third week, they're gonna be available. At the same time, and additional ways to connect and resources that we have for you available are gonna be, free tutoring on campus for the CS department, CS students. If you're struggling with some math or you need, a little guidance on, some of the classes, some of the assignments, we have CS mentors. We also have HKN. These are student groups. They offer these services. These are free, once again. So later, we're gonna share these slides with you so you can copy and paste these links and further explore this information. Moving on, we have, CS Scholars Program. Charlene, as mentioned earlier, Charlene is the director of this program. So this program is a great resource for students to, to meet friends, create community, learn. And the deadline to apply to this program is Monday, July 1st, 2024. For specific questions about this program, if you're looking to apply or interested in learning more, please check the website or reach out to Charlene directly. So now, how do I declare, the CS major? So as a fall 2024 first year students, you were admitted directly into the major, so you don't have to fill out this form or an application to apply to the major. At some point, however, you may get emails from the college with information about like, hey, you need to fill out the form or you need to apply to the major. If you see these emails, then please ignore these emails because you are already declared. One of the things for you to keep in mind is that even though you were declared or admitted directly into the major, you still need to be, being good academic standing, meaning that you must have a 2.0 cumulative GPA to be in compliance with the major and the college. And if at some point you find yourself struggling, please reach out to us, CS Advising or CDSS for advice.
And this slide holds all of the class requirements for the major, the lower division and the upper division. This is all over our website. So, but the math requirements, math 1A, 1B, we will accept AP credit for math 1A and 1B. If you have individual questions about that, you can attend drop-ins and we can talk about it. The other requirements, math 54 or 56 or EEC 16A. Some people are still interested in taking 16A if they're more interested in the EE end of the EECS aspect. Then you have an option to take 8 upper division EE classes. You might want to take 16A. This is something you'd want to talk to faculty about. And then of course our famous 61 series, 61A, which is our basic intro class, 61B, which is data structures. It teaches you how to start to write software, and 61C, which is more the base level of the way the computer works, and CS 70, which is kind of math-based, writing proofs, discrete math and probability. Your upper division requirements, you have 24 total upper division requirements. You have a design class. We can talk more about that in individual meetings, but there's quite a few options for that class. And then you have an additional 16 units, 8 of which could be EE upper division, so CS upper division, but 8 could be E. And then you have 4 units that's a non-CS technical elective that you're actually required to take. There's a whole list of them, but it's a good opportunity to branch out a little. If you want to be an entrepreneur, there's some business classes that are included in that, econ, things like that. So, yeah, okay. Now this slide shows some of the building blocks of, I think you have to click it again yeah. So the topics and the building blocks of our lower division that will give you the foundation toward your upper division experience at Berkeley. And if you have planned, like a lot of students now want to take things like machine learning, there's a lot of prereqs for that class. So you might want to start looking into what they are and talking to faculty or course staff about what foundation you need to have a good, successful experience with like our machine learning class. But all of our lower division builds topic wise toward creating your experience for the upper division. And for your first semester, this is kind of a really general overview. A lot of people still have lower division math to take. 1 CS course. We generally don't advise taking more than 2 technical courses a semester in an ideal world. And then we listed American cultures, but the CDSS requirements that you'll be talking to them about. And CDSS is only going to require 12 units, but we wanted to list, there's a lot of freshman seminar options to take and decals. And you're here to learn also, not just all STEM learning. So everybody's always in such a hurry to get prepared for internships and things like that. But there's a lot of really interesting freshman seminars I hope you will consider looking into.
So some of the some tips from or some feedback that we received from other students before is you know, when you're working on those lower division classes like the 61A, 61B, and 70, you know, take your time, don't rush it. You have plenty of time ahead of you, and for faculty, they do recommend the students, you know, try to avoid taking 61A, B, and 70 in the same semester. Especially because for some of these classes, you know, you have, you know, like 61A, for example, is a prerequisite for some of those. So taking these, you know, in different semesters will be the ideal plan. So 61A is a class that can be challenging when it comes to the exams. So if you're taking this class and, you know, the GSI or the professor or someone in that class, the staff in that class is offering, you know, some exam preparation, if they're hosting office hours, we strongly recommend that you attend these office hours so that you do well in those classes. Keep in mind that even though you were directly admitted into the CS major, you still need to do well in these classes and maintain that GPA. So taking, you know, 61B and 70 is going to be, is going to keep you really busy, and perhaps the workload is going to be heavy. So it can be manageable, but at the same time, think about what other obligations, what other priorities you have. So be mindful of those things. When it comes to something that is not recommended is that you take 61C with 61B or 70. This means that if you take any of these together, it's not recommended because it can be, you know, lower. It can have these prerequisites, plus it's gonna be a heavy workload. Prerequisites are there for a reason, so pay attention to whether a class requires that you satisfy the prerequisites in order to enroll in that class. Attend office hours as much as you can. Once again, if you have, you know, struggling academically or you have other things going on, reach out to us. Just, you know, what I was saying, you know, when it comes to prerequisites, take those seriously. Be mindful of those prerequisites. Prerequisites are in place for a reason. Those prerequisites are going to be the foundation for you to successfully complete the other class. In some instances, you may be able to sign up for an upper division class, for example. These classes, you know, if these classes have prerequisites, but you're able to sign up in these classes, then you are gonna be fine for the first weeks. However, if the professor enforces these prerequisites, it means that the professor can drop you from the class without telling you anything. If the professor drops you, you know, at some point, you know, like in the middle of the semester, for example, then it's gonna be too late for you to add another class, especially if you are not taking, you know, the required units in that semester. So just be mindful. If you want to take a class in which you haven't satisfied the prerequisites, we strongly recommend that you reach out to us or you reach out directly to the professor or whoever is teaching that class and inquire about like, hey, if I signed up for this class, is it okay even though I haven't satisfied the prerequisite? They should be able to provide a lot of information there. You know, in the last couple of years, the CS major and the X department has grown by a lot. And because of that, some enrollment policies were implemented. Even though we're not gonna go over this, over these policies right now, later you're gonna have access to this information and you can review these policies on your own time. when it comes to taking classes, be strategic about what classes you take, how many units you take. As Carol mentioned before, there are some recommendations that we are providing to you. You know, we recommend that you consider this. Do not overload yourself with too many units. For your first semester, second semester, keep in mind that, there's the transition. So it's gonna be new institution. You're gonna be away from, your comfort zone. Perhaps it's gonna be new for you, or it's going to be new for you. So make sure that you mindful of the classes you take. And if you at some point you decide to take, one of those non-CS tech electives, so these classes are not as rigorous as the CS classes for the major. However, double check if those non-technical electives have prerequisites and if you meet those prerequisites. If you need some feedback on what classes you can take, you can reach out to peer advisors to help you, provide to help you with some guidance or feedback on your schedule, and also provide additional information about like what may be considered a balanced schedule for you. Something that may be relatively that is going to be new for you is being waitlisted for some classes. So if this is new for you, be aware of this. So this is going to happen at some point. If you try to sign up for the class and then you are waitlisted for the class, then be mindful of this. And later we're going to provide more information about like what to do if you are waitlisted for a class.
Okay, so now we're going on to some sample programs. These are kind of general overview schedules that you can talk more in detail with advising about with your individual situation during drop-ins over summer. The sample one is somebody coming in with no programming background, just a little hint about 61A. It's a great class, but it is a very dense class. And even though it's technically written for beginners, most students find it very overwhelming if they don't have a lot of programming background. And also, just another caveat, if you do have programming background and you're planning to take 61A in the fall, I recommend doing some prep, learning some Python, doing some of the summer first assignments. I believe they're public, and Professor De Niro has recommended that students do that because it is just a very dense class. But this is a sample if you're really new to programming and you don't have all your math yet. You might want to do CS10 or Data 8 is another first semester class with Math 1A, and then you're going to be meeting with CDSS, talking about their requirements, maybe a CDSS requirement. You only need to take 12 units, but if you did want to consider like a seminar like we talked about, and then this would be like a follow-up to that would be you would go into 61A prepared, then do Math 1B, and then you could perhaps consider doing the non-CS Tech elective that we just talked about. They tend to be a little less rigorous and don't have the enrollment issues that some of the other, CS classes have. Okay, yeah. This is another where you coming in doing 61A, but you do need all your math. So you would do 61A and Math 1A, and again, CDSS requirement. And then your second semester do 61B, Math 1B, and then perhaps the non-CS Tech elective or maybe the CDSS requirement. And then this would be somebody who maybe AP Math 1A. You could come in and do 61A, Math 1B, again, CDSS requirement, and then perhaps a decal and then 61B the next semester in the spring, and then you could do Math 54 or 56. And again, like a non-CS Tech elective is a possibility. And then this is another where, let's say you've AP'd both Math 1A, 1B, perhaps you took 61A over the summer, you could do 61B, math 54, 56, and then move on to 70 in your second semester, non-CS tech elective, maybe another CDSS requirement. In an ideal world, the faculty does recommend taking 61A, B, and 70 in separate semesters. I know a lot of people are in a hurry to get a lot of things done because they're looking at, internship options, but this is just, this is what faculty who've seen a lot have recommended. So, okay.
Okay, thank you, Carol. And now we're gonna go over, grading and repeating policies. So all classes that you take for the major or minor must be taken for a letter grade. Here at Berkeley and per campus policy, so students are allowed to repeat some of the classes in which they receive, let's say, a D plus, D minus, F, or a NP, like no pass. So if you repeat a class, then the second grade in that class will be factored into the GPA. However, the first grade is not going to be deleted on your transcript. It's going to remain on your transcript. So once again, when you repeat a class, the second grade will be factored into the GPA. So I'm putting some emphasis right there because this policy tends to be confusing. So you can repeat classes. You have, if you took a class and then you pass a class with a P that stands for passing, or a C minus or better, then you're not allowed to repeat that class. Okay, enrollment. So enrollment begins for you on July 18th. If you don't know, yet, then I recommend checking in Cal Central under enrollment. There's gonna be a section right there that says enrollment, and then it's gonna indicate the time that you're gonna be able to sign up for classes. As previously mentioned, if you signed up for a class, a lower division class, and you are waitlisted, then do not be surprised. And second, if you have questions, hey, am I gonna be able to get off the wait list? Such a great question, right? But if that's the case, then you can contact the CS hyphen enrollment at x berkeley.edu. If you are listed in one of those EE classes, then you can contact the EE hyphen scheduling at berkeley.edu if you have questions about this class. Now, and just to emphasize one more time that if you have questions, you can reach out to us anytime by sending us an email to the cs-advising at csberkeley.edu. So if you wanna, chat with us during virtual drop-in hours this summer, these advising hours are available on Tuesday, Thursday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. and Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. Lastly, no drop-ins on July 3rd and 4th. Having said that, any questions for us?
And just a reminder that drop-ins are going on now, so we'll even have it this afternoon at 1:30. So if people have individual situations, you can ask us to drop in rather than feeling like I have to now.
Yeah, so I have a question. So with the sample programs you guys gave for our first year with the 12 units per semester or 13, to graduate in 4 years without doing summer semester and winter semester, we would have to or I'm sorry, we would have to stack our schedules with 16 units after that from then on sophomore to senior year to graduate, right?
So we would say, yeah, something along those lines, right? But here's the thing. So for at least for the first year, we want you to be mindful of how many units you take each semester. Keep in mind, there's gonna be, there's a transition, you need to adjust to the new campus major, policies that you need to be familiar with. So at least for the first year, so be mindful of the number of units that you take. Now overload yourself, and later, once you are more familiar, more comfortable with how things work at Berkeley, then you can start adding more units. So you're gonna have about like 2.5 years to work on those lower division requirements or GEs for the college. Then in between, you can plug in some of those upper division, not upper division, requirements for the CS. So you should be fine to, you should be able to graduate on time if you follow, what I just mentioned.
Hi, I just also wanted to add to what Javier was saying. If you have AP units or, transfer coursework, any of those sorts of units, you can work with your college advisor, and those units can also help you to graduate. So that could take away from needing to take 16 units per semester if you already are coming in with some other units.
What other questions you guys have for us?
Hello, I have two questions. My first one was like, do you guys recommend like which math do you recommend? Like math 54 or 56 or the ECS 16A? Like which one would you recommend for like the generic CS path?
Wait, sorry, could you say that again?
I was wondering like since we have to like take math 54 or 56 or the EECS 16A. I was just wondering like which one would you guys recommend?
Oh, okay. Well, a lot of students seem to prefer the Math 56 because it's linear algebra without the differential equations that was kind of developed because of data science, shifting their requirements. So that's kind of become popular. 16A, I would only recommend taking that if you were kind of more interested in the EE aspect, although I understand they've changed that class a lot. So you might want to check with the faculty or check with like peer advising when we start in the fall. But in general, our CS students don't seem to get as much out of 16A if their goals are more just like CS and software designing and things like that.
Thank you. So my second question is for like the upper division courses. Like it said that we need to take one course outside of our like major. Is that like upper or is that like a lower?
Yeah, it's an upper division, non-CX approved tech elective that there's a lot listed on that website. And like I said, it gives you an opportunity to kind of explore, like business finance is one of them, microeconomics in the economics department is one of them. Ling 100, linguistics, that's a really popular one too.
Any other questions?
Yeah, and like I said, we will be available for drop-ins this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon if you have more questions. And then the email is active all summer. And like Javier said, we're pretty good about responding in a timely manner,
I just wanted to highlight a few links that I put in the chat answering some questions. We have our EdSTEM page. It's called EECS 101, and that is an online forum that the department uses to post deadlines, announcements, but it's also a really great resource for peers because you put your own questions and have other students chime in and give their feedback. So I put the link in the chat, so you should definitely sign up for that. That's a great place to ask, should I take EECS 16A versus Math 54 versus Math 56? Because we can give you the advisor perspective, but it's really valuable to have a peer perspective as well. And just some other links I put in the chat. Somebody had a question about 61A and whether or not that could be the right class for them in the fall. So you do want to have some familiarity with Python going into 61A because that class is taught in Python. but doesn't teach you the language. So I put the course website in the chat. Go through the class, go through the materials, the slides, and just kind of imagine yourself taking that class this fall and seeing how it would be for you. And then a couple people had questions about math and AP or HL requirements. So I put the website there where you can check for the scores that would allow you to test out of those classes. And I see a question about AP for college requirements. So that we would need you to work with the CDSS advisors. I'm guessing that information's not available on their website yet. So I can put in the chat their contact information, but yeah, you'll need to work with a CDSS advisor.
If someone's between CS10 and CS61A, my Python's decent. I should look at that website that you sent, so thank you for that. But if someone's between CS10 and 61A, do you recommend just taking CS10 and taking the safer route? Just because it's going to be our first year, just to prepare, kind of.
Yeah, what I would really recommend is like what Professor De Niro says. I would try the assignments of summer sessions for 61A and see how it, how it feels. The feedback that we get from students with 61A is that the exams are the really tricky part. So just keep that in mind though too. So you could always, CS10 usually actually requires like a Google Doc to add the course. So they would actually evaluate if they think you're right for the class. So you might be able to try to add both and CS10 and 61A and then decide to drop one. And then that would give you an opportunity to have talked to like CS10 course staff about what their advice would be. It is just, I just do, even with people with programming experience, 61A can feel kind of overwhelming. So I do want to put it out there. I don't want to like scare anybody, but it's a big class and it moves very quickly. So if you are concerned that you're not ready, I would definitely listen to that voice.
I see a question about scheduling appointments. I think with CS advisors. Once again, if you have questions, we have drop-in advising. In fact, we have drop-in advising at 1:30 later today, so you can drop by and we should be able to assist you.
Oh, somebody put a question about the 5th-year masters. There's actually a link on our website that's great about learning about 50. If you want to write to CS Advising, we could send it to you today. If somebody else was telling me their GBA was still showing up in Cal Central, I would reach out to the CDSS Advising.
For GBA, if you're referring to the B course that you have to complete, once you completed everything, then it's gonna take some time for the CDSS advisors to clear everything for those students. So just be patient. They have a lot of students and they are currently working on that.
And somebody had a question about if they can join CS scholars from CS10. I actually don't know the answer. You could write to, on the slides, you could write to Charlene. Let me get her email.
Yeah, later we're gonna share that the presentation with everyone. So you're gonna have access to that email. Feel free to reach out to Charlene for more information on that.
Yeah, I would reach out. I think you can, but I'm not 100% sure how.
Okay, looks like no more questions. Lydia shared the link of our resources, lower division requirements in the chat. So feel free to take a look at that. And once again, if more questions come up, feel free to send us an email or utilize the virtual advising. Okay, I see a question that says, how do we request a credit transfer?
You mean like a course that you took at another university, or your coursework will be evaluated, and that will show up in your transfer report. Sometimes it's a little late and it can be a little surprising to students, but if you have questions about if you think something would transfer, you can reach out to CS Advising and come to drop in too. I don't know that, do you guys know much about honors? I know our Gina is our honors manager.
Yeah,
and
I can speak generally about the honors program. So you apply, I believe, during your junior year. That might be the earliest you can apply. We can put the website in the chat, but there are some events that are held for students in the program. I believe your advisor is either the CS or the EECS chair, depending on what your area is in. So you would get, to meet with them, I think maybe once in the semester. And then when you graduate, there's an event with the chairs and other faculty. And then, it's a notation on your transcript as well.
I share the link in the chat about with information that has information about the honors program. You shouldn't be off track to graduate in 4 years. However, if you feel that you behind, then I recommend chatting, coming to us to chat, have a chat. But if you want, you can also take summer classes over the summer. That's when students they take some of the requirements too, so that they complete everything earlier.
Okay, we hope to see you soon at drop-ins, or feel free to get in touch anytime.